So we all went through season 10, lots of downs, some ups, and what we hope for a substantial season is here tomorrow. Let's talk about some of my thoughts on season 10. Season 11 is very close now, even tomorrow, and Bungie is putting out a live stream just 1 hour before the season comes out, something they've never done before. And they'll be talking about the fall expansion at the same time, something they've also never done before. I wanted to get this video out as close to the season ending as possible to consider all the things and events that have happened. We had a good start the first week of the season. Guardian Games brought some initial excitement, followed up by 3 weeks of anger and distrust within the community. We saw a beloved shotgun return in a terrible community quest. And the first ever Destiny live event happened the Saturday before season 11 launched. This talk will be based solely on the events of season 10, disregarding any of the leaks that may have come out for season 11, as well as ignoring the teasers for either season 11 or the fall expansion. Although, go watch my video on my reactions to the live stream, I'll put a card here. Starting off with the story. The story behind season 10 seems to be all about the Cabal wanting to destroy the tower and the city with a massive almighty ship. Their tip of the spear, cream of the crop achievement of their entire race that we destroyed in season 1. But the real story hides in the lore, hidden away in the many lore books of the season and behind the scenes where most players don't see. This season was really all about getting Rasputin on our side to help fight against the darkness that will come later on and prevent another collapse, because the last time a collapse happened he didn't do anything and he regrets it. We need Rasputin. Without Rasputin there is a high chance that we will not win and another collapse will happen. The problem is that the story is hidden away in the lore books. It is hidden away in the lore books. Why is that? If you are a player that does not read the lore or keep up with the big story bits, this season would seem very bland and boring story-wise. We get the trailer with the Almighty, we know what we need to do, and 3 months later, we get a live event that lasts an hour and a half where we finally see the Almighty destroyed. The translation of the story into gameplay was in public events, lost sectors, and bounties, and those basically gave us the minimal details we needed to know. The story should be implemented into gameplay better, even if it is as something as simple as the Tyrant mission, where we went to just walk around and we listened to Anna Bray and listened to the story progression. Imagine if the Tyrant mission was within the lore instead of a actual mission. That would have been a huge slap to the face along with all the other story that's hidden in the lore books. One takeaway I hope Bungie gets from this season is that we are done with the Cabal. No more. The players do not want the Cabal even more. Unless there is a high arching leader and a big reason to actually fight them, we don't need them. In my opinion, we should have finished their story back in season 1 after Gaul was killed. I would only want to see them come back if Callus becomes their leader, goes against us, and we had to kill him and possibly destroy the Leviathan. That would actually be pretty cool. Maybe the pyramid ships could be on our side and help us destroy the Leviathan. Talking about the beginning of the season, things were actually pretty good. There was new stuff to explore, new things to farm and collect, new weapons and armor to try out, an incentive on fully upgrading the EDZ bunker, messing around with wool mine cells, finding a good set to use for them. Then the second week came around, and by this point I think it's safe to say that some players were tired. It was a repeat of the first week but on a new destination, same thing with week 3, and there was more bounties, more public events in the form of Sarah Towers, and doing lost sectors for the title. The thing is, all of the problems the community exerted on Twitter, Reddit, other videos and streams are the same problems that Bungie already knew. This honestly feels like old content that was not finished when it was supposed to release and they just stuffed it into this season and made it work. No matchmaking at Sarah Towers, it is failable, the light requirement was higher than the entry level of the season, and the rewards weren't good enough. These are the same problems that Escalation Protocol had when it first released many years ago. At this point, there is an expectation from Bungie. They've been at this for years now, and this season should not be an excuse. Even though the world was crazy right now, this content was being worked on way before all of that stuff happened. I don't see how they made the same mistakes, and even worse, brought all of the mistakes they knew about and threw them all into one season. In Season 11, it is expected to have similar problems. The new activity probably won't be match made, bounties will be a big point of progression, and so on and so forth. We know this because this content is made one after another long in advance. We do have promise from Bungie that all of these fixes and more will come in year 4, which is 3 months away. Guardian Games was an Olympic style event created to pit the 3 classes against each other to see who was the best at completing bounties. The initial talk of the event was very exciting and mysterious to the community, but when it released, we knew very quickly what kind of event this is. Find a class that can do the bounties the quickest to get the exotic machine gun heir apparent. After I got my machine gun, I don't really care what happens. Unsurprisingly, the quickest class was found out within the first few days as Titans. They had the easiest bounties, their abilities generated lures the fastest, and it was more enjoyable to play as a Titan during this event because of the sense of progression. For 3 weeks, through the entire event, Titans took first place for every day except for 2. The first 2 days, Hunters took the lead. The big problem that occurred is speculation of cheating within the whole community. Videos surfacing of Titans possibly cheating by banking multiple medals at the same time via a glitch, and Bungie saying that Hunter medals are being weighted differently to compensate for the amount of players that play as Hunters. Left and right, every single day, players on Reddit and Twitter and everywhere else were arguing whether Titans were cheating, Hunters got screwed from the start, and Warlocks are honestly just chilling and were the most stable numbers-wise out of the whole event. There was so much argument that Bungie had to test themselves to release charts showing data that Titans are not glitching medals and are legitimately winning. So 3 weeks go by and Titans win by a landslide and they get a trophy the size of a nightstand next to Zavala. Trials returned this season with high hopes of improvement since Trials of Osiris was last seen, and more since Trials of the Nine left long ago. Little did Bungie know that Destiny 2 becoming free to play would absolutely destroy their quote-unquote anti-cheat system, which by the way is manually checked by a human and not a bot, which therefore is not an anti-cheat system. That's not how it works. And in return, it brought massive amounts of cheaters into Trials of Osiris. So much so that the first week it brought in hundreds of thousands of players playing Trials of Osiris, which have then dwindled down to barely 100,000 players on PC. My opinion is that Trials should go away for now until Bungie gets a real automated anti-cheat system. Look at what Call of Duty is doing with Warzone, what Overwatch is doing with their game, what Valorant is doing, and implement it into the game so that it is a required download for players and regularly updated as required patches to play online. What they have now is a disgrace to tell the community that it is an anti-cheat system. If they had to take away Trials altogether, I would like to see a proper competitive ranking system similar to something like Apex Legends, with more than one game mode for competitive with rule sets, restricted loadouts even if it's voted on per match, and other rules that truly make it a competitive PvP experience. Even include awards like Rocket League does at the end of every season depending on the highest rank you achieve that season. I would much rather have that kind of competitive PvP in Destiny rather than, regular Trials. That is not even the end of it. The token system has damaged the mode significantly. So much so that Bungie had to change the fundamentals for casual players that play Trials. No more tokens on match losses in return for more tokens the more you win. Also, let's not even talk about the rewards. Weapons and armor that is lackluster compared to what we had before, bringing adept perks without the adept weapons. There is just so much that seemed to be overlooked in the Return of Trials this season. I just hope it shines in year 4 or it just gets put back on the shelf until it is properly looked at. Grandmaster Nightfalls were introduced this season as a one-time completion, not focused on score, just finish it. Also, it can be watchable. Where to begin with these? They are a harder version of Master Nightfalls at 1050 light with even more negative modifiers, 12 in total, not a single positive modifier, and you always are underpowered because you have to be at least 1025 to start it, and your power won't matter if you are above 1025. I do not see how Bungie keeps making this mistake with endgame content. First off, the rewards for this level of Nightfall were not increased. Why is that? Players love the double rewards glitch that happened a while ago when Water and Nothing was the Nightfall. I think having the Grandmaster have double rewards should at least be something to go for besides just going for the title. Just having the title may not seem worthy to majority of players that actually want to do the content. They are so focused on making negative modifiers that it is as if they completely forgotten about positive modifiers. What they should have done with Grandmaster Nightfalls is 6 negative and 6 positive, with the positive buffing certain weapons or abilities, or even Warmind cells to do regular or enhanced explosion damage, so it would give us a reason to actually use Warmind cells, and actually change out the loadout to other weapons besides Ariana's Vow, swords, and the regular Overload or Unstoppable. When you are running a Grandmaster Nightfall, you are getting beat up again and again so much that you are literally crouching or hiding the entire time, going invisible, or slowly shooting your way through the whole encounter. How is that watchable? Even worse, we were told by Bungie that time does not matter. But when you hit 40 minutes, you run out of all your revives. Even if you have 10 revives, 15 revives, you lose all of them. If your team dies after 40 minutes, you are returned to orbit. I don't see how Bungie said this can be watchable. Who wants to see a whole team crouch their way through, use a whole clip of ammo just to try to kill a red bar enemy, or get one shot by everything that touches you? They need to change their mindset on modifiers. Not everything has to be negative if it is endgame. Make positive modifiers so that it is still challenging, but enjoyable for us to actually play. I got Conqueror this season, and I would have loved if I could change my loadout every time I did in the Grandmaster to different weapons, or actually set it up to use Warmind cells. Because Tyrant Surge is the most OP mod this season, and sadly it is going away along with the majority of usage for Warmind cells next season, because we all know the weapons are not that great, nor do they create cells efficiently enough. Grandmaster Nightfalls turned into a game of tiger and mouse in that players had to hide majority of the time, go invisible to bypass everything, or find ways to cheese the boss because they were nearly impossible to do legit. I can't tell you how many times my team did a Grandmaster boss legit, because the closest we did to legit was popping a bubble on the boss and sorting the boss till we won, ignoring every other enemy and mechanic in the fight. If it wasn't for that, we either did a God mode spot where we got out of bounds, where we wouldn't take damage, or we used the Titan class to use the God mode glitch so that we could take actually a good amount of damage. Grandmaster Nightfalls are just such a mess right now, and they need to be readjusted in light level and add some positive modifiers. Take away at least half of the negative. Good thing is though, the title for Grandmaster Nightfalls, Conqueror, is not a seasonal exclusive. So if you have progress this season or just no progress at all, it will reset next season. Same thing with the flawless title for Trials. The live quest is completed. Check out my video on that if you don't know what happened. And the community held it hostage. Gun to the head, knife to Bungie's throat, majority of the time to the wrong people, but bad intentions all around. First off, the quest was leaked early on Reddit telling us some of the steps as well as the final room could be glitched into. Although it had no lighting there, it was just a dark room. So that put expectations into players' minds and overall ruined the great surprise it could have been. Secondly, it was put in a bad place because the season was already in a bad place. So much so that the community did not want to do this quest at all. It was calculated that this quest would be completed long after the season was done. Bungie had to add in modifiers 5 times on weekdays, 10 times on weekends, so that it can actually be completed on time. Millions of Seraph Towers, 9 million to be exact, with 3 million on each planet, and then 1,000 shotgun kills. We did, however, visit Vostok and was able to glitch into the top of the mountain like we did with Rise of Iron, which was all good fun. During our time on Vostok though, we learned a lot about Rasputin, Felwinter, and Siva. Ultimately, Rasputin used Siva as bait for the Iron Lords just so Rasputin can kill his son, Felwinter, which ended up killing all of the Iron Lords except Lord Saladin, who runs the Iron Banner. When the community got to a certain point in the quest, we had to go inside the moon bunker. This actually transported us back to the moon spawn in front of Eris, and for over an hour, players were searching far and wide on the moon because when we got teleported to Eris, there was no waypoint, action, direction, dialogue. There was nothing. We just got teleported and that was it. This time of exploration may have actually been one of the accidental highlights of the season because players of the community were actively looking for the next step. Was it in a lost sector? Go check Sorrow's Harbor, see if it's at the garden entrance, check the room where the Whisper mission in D1 led us, and more. But this was actually a mistake. DMG on Twitter, the community manager, sent out a tweet later that night saying that if you spawned at Ares, you were in a glitched instant. This will be looked at in the morning. The community went absolutely wild with rage. There was no stopping the hate comments not only towards Bungie, but towards its employees like DMG who had absolutely no part in the making of the quest. Bungie updated us through the next few days stating that they could not even replicate the cheat themselves. But then the Thursday after the next reset, there was a hotfix. We can finally go inside the moon bunker. This mission concluded with the Tyrant quest. We learned about Felwinter, how he is Rasputin's son, how Rasputin's rage toward Felwinter came to be, and we got to finally enter that secret moon bunker fully lit up and detailed with an old war mine dead center. Coming out of the ground is a coffin with what seems to be an outline of Felwinter holding the shotgun. This quest seems to be a setup for the future. Learning about Rasputin taking over Siva could actually be useful. If he can take control of it again, he can help us fight the darkness with Siva. The first ever endgame live event, Rasputin finally destroys the Almighty. All of the season's events have led up to the first ever Fortnite style event where the massive Almighty is almost eclipsing the sun and Rasputin fires millions of missiles from Io, the moon, and EDZ at the Almighty. We see tons of explosions happening, it combusts into billions of debris that will most likely stop when season 11 starts, and we see a large piece of the Almighty crash into what could be the Plague Lands, which could set us up for season 11. You also talk to Zavala and Anna telling you, "Good job, we did it, who can stop us now?" and so on. If you inspect the damage of the tower right now, next to Zavala, you can get the emblem Ceres Wings. Talking about how this could tie into next season, if the piece of the Almighty actually did crash into the Plague Lands, it could have released some Siva out into the wild. If we still plan to arm Rasputin in order to aid us against the darkness, helping him take control of Siva again would be a massive help. In case you don't know, Siva is malleable, which means it can be used for good or evil. This was put into fruition when Rasputin used Siva as bait against the Iron Lords just to kill his son Felwinter. That was back in Rise of Iron DLC in D1 by the way. That could totally be the whole story for season 11, or it could just be a cool reminder at the tower for us to see in the future of what we did in season 10. Some feedback I would give Bungie is make the event shorter. I'm sure most people thought the event would only last a few minutes as it was referred to a Fortnite style event, but with Rasputin destroying the Almighty taking a hefty hour and a half, it definitely made players upset. I thought it was fine, but making it an hour wouldn't hurt. This was a very large technical achievement for Bungie though. Where it is, it was new technology they're testing, possibly a new engine for D3 or next gen D2 only, cough cough, and this was a major test to see what they could actually do with it. Thankfully, everything went off great. Sure, there were people getting errors and such, but the whole game didn't crash, it didn't glitch out like the live quest did, and it went off smoothly. Congrats to Bungie for the first ever Destiny endgame live event. We hope to see more in the years to come. I was thinking we would get some kind of teaser after the event was done, similar to how they revealed trials to us after the Imperium Foundation was done. Kinda like how they did a release trailer happening right after that was all done with the community event. Something similar to that. But it seems they want to keep everything a secret until Tuesday when they reveal season 11 and the fall expansion. My expectations for next season are a bit low. I always go back to the Vidoc around season 8 where Bungie talks about the seasons to come, with season 11 being the one you cannot miss. You want to be there. I am massively excited for the reveal, but I'm just not sure how the gameplay will be, because we know those same problems will still be there. Bounties, non-mate meet events, and more. We just have to wait and see and hope that Bungie nails it on the coffin at season 11 and starts off the fall expansion with a bang. I would tell you that if you are a new player who is thinking of getting into Destiny, or a player who is thinking of getting back into Destiny, I would say wait. even though we don't know anything so far about Season 11 or the Fall expansion, although the Fall expansion is usually a pretty good entry point. If Season 11 is great, then I would tell you to jump back in and get back to it, but I don't expect any kind of first thoughts till after the first week or two. Expectations for the Fall expansion, although, are pretty high, considering that Season 12 may be slept on like Season 8, and this is the time for Bungie to put up or shut up for the third time, previous times being the Taken King and Forsaken. The Fall expansion is the first time where Bungie is truly independent and has no external worries. They are done with the Activision stuff. They are done with the transition to Battle.net and Steam. They have everything where it needs to be. If the Fall expansion is anything to go on, it is a time for us to know what the future holds for Bungie and Destiny. The next gen consoles are coming out, and I would not be surprised if they are taking full advantage of that technology and putting it into the Fall expansion. I do expect D2 to go fully next gen only for content in the Fall expansion of 2021 though, similar to how they did Rise of Iron in D1. That's all of my thoughts for Season 10. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all at the reveal of Season 11 and the Fall expansion.